The product categories that win in any given year are shaped by what's happening in that year. And 2026 has a very specific set of conditions that nobody planned for. Tariffs that completely changed the math on imported goods, an AI explosion that made consumers suspicious of anything that doesn't feel human, and an advertising trust crisis that's changing how people decide to spend money. Those three things landed at the same time and opened up 5 product niches that are wide open right now. I've been tracking them for months, and what I found surprised me. These 5 niches share a pattern, and once you see it, it will change how you look for products to sell forever. Now here's the big change in 2026. The consumer is tired. Tired of AI-generated product photos, tired of 15-second ads that make every product sound like the greatest invention of all time. Tired of ordering from platforms where they have no idea who made the thing, where it came from, or whether it'll fall apart in 6 months. And the numbers back this up. According to Edelman's 2025 Trust Barometer, 68% of people believe that business leaders are deliberately lying to them. And that is up significantly from where it was 5 years ago. So people aren't just skeptical of advertising, they are skeptical of brands in general. And that consumer fatigue is creating real opportunities. All 5 of the niches I've been tracking share one thing in common, and it's the same thing the tired consumer is desperately looking for. And I'm going to show you those niches first, and once you've seen all 5, the pattern should be obvious. So niche number 1 is handmade products. Now I started noticing something in my own store about 2 years ago. Customers were specifically asking whether our embroidery was done in a factory or by us personally. Now they mostly knew the answer already, but they wanted to hear us say it. They wanted the reassurance that a real person touched this thing. And when we leaned into that, putting it front and center in our product descriptions and making the embroiderist part of the story, our average order value climbed 17%. We've rebuilt our marketing around it since then, and there's a growing consumer movement pushing back against AI-generated everything. And it's spilling directly into purchasing decisions. NewTarget.com found that 71% of consumers say they actively look for brands that feel authentically human before they buy. Now, Burt's Bees understood this before most brands were even thinking about it. Bert Shavitz was a beekeeper in rural Maine. With surplus beeswax he didn't know what to do with. When Roxanne Quimby came into the picture, she found an old book of recipes, and the two started making candles by hand and selling them at local craft fairs. Now, their first sale was $200 at a junior high school craft fair, and by the end of the first year, they'd done $20,000. Their entire brand was built around that origin. Bert's actual face was on the packaging. The ingredients were things you could picture being harvested, and everything about it signaled that real people with dirty hands and a genuine philosophy had made the thing. Clorox eventually acquired Burt's Bees for $925 million. Now, what they were selling at the craft fair stage and what ultimately justified that acquisition price was the same thing. The human story was the moat, and it was built into the brand from the very first table that they set up. Now, the play here is not to fake handmade. Buyers can smell that from a mile away. The play is to find the genuine human element that already exists in your product or your process and make it the center of your story. And if you think the made by hand angle is powerful on its own, just wait until you see what happens when you pair it with where something was made. And the next niche is running on the same consumer psychology, but it has a tailwind that did not exist 2 years ago. So niche number 2 is anything made in America. So at Seller Summit last year, which is my annual e-commerce conference, I was in a room with about 100 seven-figure sellers. And I asked them how many had customers actively asking where their products were made. And almost every hand went up. This is not just a feel-good trend anymore. With tariffs reshaping the cost of goods from China and Southeast Asia, Made in America has gone from a marketing angle to a genuine competitive advantage in a lot of categories. The proof point I keep coming back to is American Giant. They make heavy-duty American-made sweatshirts and basics out of a factory in the Carolinas. In 2012, a single article in Slate called their hoodie the greatest hoodie ever made. They sold out their entire inventory in days, and since then, they sold over 1 million hoodies at a price point 2 to 3 times what you would pay for a comparable import. 1 million units sold at a premium price and built almost entirely on one simple story. Now, the insight is not that American made is automatically better. It's that a real subset of buyers will pay a meaningful premium for it, and those buyers are loyal in a way that discount shoppers never are. So if your supply chain already has a domestic component, or if you can build one credibly, right now is the moment to lead with it. Now, where a product is made is one trust signal, but there's a second kind of trust that's driving even faster growth right now, and the market behind it is on track to triple by 2030. By the way, if you're interested in learning how to start your own profitable online store, make sure you take my free 6-day e-commerce mini course below. It's 100% free, and I guarantee you'll learn a ton. So niche number 3 is biohacking and longevity. I have a friend named Kevin Chen. He runs a brand called Iristore Laser, which sells FDA-cleared laser helmets for hair restoration. Now, it sounds pretty niche, but he's built it into an 8-figure business. And here's the thing I find most interesting about Kevin's growth. The person buying his product has changed. A couple years ago, it was someone who tried everything and was almost out of options. But today, it's someone who's 42, healthy, proactive, and treating hair loss the same way they treat sleep optimization or glucose monitoring. They view it as a biology problem they want to get ahead of and prevent. And that customer shift is happening across a huge range of categories. The global biohacking market was valued at $15.7 million in 2021 and is projected to hit $85.78 billion by 2032, according to Globe Newswire. And that's more than triple in under a decade. And the thing driving it is not gym culture. It's a much broader consumer obsession with living longer and performing better at every stage of life. Now, what makes Kevin's product resonate so well with this buyer is that it comes with a protocol. You use the device on a schedule, you track what's happening, and then you can see progress over time. And that kind of specificity is exactly what the biohacking consumer is looking for right now, because this is a buyer who wants to feel like they're actively managing their own biology, and a measurable system gives them that in a way that a supplement cannot provide. So if you're in any category that touches longevity, sleep, recovery, mental performance, or physical optimization, you are sitting inside one of the fastest growing consumer spending categories of the decade. Now, before I get to niche 4, I want to pause on something that I think is actually the most important observation in this entire video. Every niche I've covered so far exists because the consumer has stopped trusting the default. They don't trust that a product was made with care, and they don't trust it came from somewhere they can feel good about, and they don't trust that it will do what it promises. And that distrust is the entire market, and these last 2 niches are built directly on top of it. So niche number 4 is founder-led brands. Now, the single biggest competitive advantage available to a small e-commerce brand right now has nothing to do with your supply chain or your ad budget. It's that you can pick up a camera, talk about your product honestly, and be more believable than any agency a larger competitor could hire. Your founder voice is a moat, and most people aren't using it. There's a brand called Graza that proves this point well. Andrew Benin launched in 2022 selling premium olive oil in squeeze bottles designed for actual cooking. He built the entire brand on one thing, talking about the product plainly and honestly, what it was, why he made it, and why it was better than what was already out there. And that kind of founder clarity does work that paid advertising cannot replicate. They did $4 million in their first year, and by 2024, they were at $48 million. And I've seen versions of this play out in my own community. Sellers who put themselves in front of the camera, who talk about why they started, what they got wrong early on, what they actually stand behind, consistently outperforms the ones running polished ads with no face behind them. I have a student named Joel Cherico who sells pottery. He goes live on social media throwing his pottery, talks to his audience like they're in the room, and has built a multi-6-figure business doing it. So the playbook here is straightforward. Pick one thing about your product that you genuinely believe in and can talk about without a script, and make that the center of your content. And you don't even need production value. You just need credibility, and credibility comes from being a real person with a real point of view. Now, this next niche runs on the same psychology, but built from a completely different angle. It's about what happens when a consumer feels like they've been overcharged for something ordinary their entire life, and then someone finally gives them a better version at a price they can actually justify. So niche number 5 is affordable luxury. Now, in my store, average order value has been creeping up for 3 years in a row. And why is that? It's because customers are choosing the premium version of our products and not apologizing for it. And I've heard the same thing from sellers in categories you would not expect. Candles, kitchen tools, specialty food. The customer who used to buy the $30 version is buying the $65 version, and they feel great about it. There's a real economic explanation here. When people feel squeezed on big purchases like houses or cars, they redirect that spending energy into smaller indulgences. And it's called the lipstick effect, and it's well documented, and right now it's working in e-commerce's favor. Fly by Jing is the case study I love for this. Jing Gao built a premium Sichuan chili crisp brand starting with a Kickstarter in 2019 where she raised over $219,000. She was selling a $14 jar of condiments in a category where people were used to paying just $3. And she made it work because she told the story of the product, the origin, the ingredients, the culture behind it in a way that made the price feel completely justified. And that's the whole playbook. Find a commodity category, make a genuinely better version, tell the story honestly, and then price it for what it's actually worth. So that's 5 niches, and by now you're probably starting to see the pattern that connects all of them. And I'll tell you exactly what that is in a minute, but first, let me just be straight up with you. Identifying a great niche is the easy part. I just did it in about 10 minutes of talking. The hard part is everything that comes after. The sellers who win today are almost never the ones with the best idea. They're the ones who moved first, shipped something imperfect, and just got better over time. That laser helmet brand doing 8 figures right now, they launched with a product that wasn't perfect. The Made in America apparel brand selling real loyalty, their first website was ugly. So here's the common thread I promised you at the top. Every single one of these markets is open right now because the consumer has stopped trusting the default. They want to know who made the product, where it came from, and whether it actually works, and whether the brand is being straight up with them. The sellers who answer those questions honestly and build their entire brand around the answer are the ones who are going to win. And if you want to understand how to actually build a brand in any of these categories, make sure you watch my video here on how to start an e-commerce store from complete scratch.